space, the human rights space, is a very difficult one to be. To work in that space is extremely difficult. Tomorrow in the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, where you are supposed to oversight the national government and other institutions on the question of human rights. I know it because one time when nearly the entire Kenya National Human Rights Commission was invaded by the police and wanted to arrest the commissioners during the time of Maina Kiai, I was there in person to try and defend the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights for what we stood for. And I want to plead with their people. Joluo, we have an identity. We have an identity. If you lose that identity for any easy victories, we are going to pay for it in future. Our loss of identity should never arise, and if we make compromises, there must be compromises that are justifiable before God and before justice, considerations of justice. Sani, I must say, in the previous government that just retired, we used to have people killed and thrown into River Yala. And if that government was saying they didn't do it, strangely, when that government left, the bodies that we used to see in Yala, there were no more. There were no more bodies in Yala. And I can attest to that. If you go to the Yala hospital, there were many bodies of unidentified Kenyans from all over Kenya, killed and thrown into the river. I am happy that as we celebrate the life of Rosalind, she's one person who stood up. Just like another lady in Luoland, Faith Odhiambo, the president of the Law Society of Kenya, she stood firm when other people are making compromises. Constitutions are never suspended. The law can never be suspended. You must always live by the dictates of the Constitution. If you suspend them, you may be happy now, but in the future, you regret. When Hitler formed his first government, it was a coalition. And that coalition died. Those parties completely died. So what I pray for is that the party called ODM, you can stand any storm. And even if you make compromises, you must make compromises on matters of principle. Not be part of praise and worship. We must stand firm. We must stand firm. We must stand firm. Even now in my chambers, I don't go to courts anymore. If I can tell you how many people come and say, can you go to court again? My little son, my little daughter was abducted. And you know, in the old days when someone used to be arrested, and Raila can attest to this, when the police arrest you, you at least have a record that it was the police. Even if they came at night, even if they came in the morning, you'll know that it's the police who have arrested you. But now, you can be met anywhere by any gang of people, and then you are arrested. You don't know whether to go to court. The writ of habeas corpus was the most important instrument you used to have, because at least the police used to accept when they arrested somebody. And if they found they could not justify why you have been arrested, then you are served with a detention order. I put it firmly that to help Kenya be a better place, we must live by the Constitution and by the rule of law. In that space, we have no alternative. No alternative. When African countries became independent, they say we have little time for democracy. Our problem is disease. Our problem is poverty. Our problem is illiteracy. So we don't need political parties. We don't need human rights. We don't need a Bill of Rights. Look at what they did in those 2 decades of African leaders. This constitution in Kenya, if you read it, is the greatest constitutional document that you can ever find in the world. Because when we were at Lancaster, when Kinamboya Jaramogi were at Lancaster, there was an American jurist who had advised the delegation that the American Constitution is very difficult for an African country to deal with. So you must always have provisos with limitation of those rights. So when he went to court, it was very difficult because they would tell you, you have the freedom of speech, but it's limited on matters of security, it's limited on matters of health. But this time we made a constitution that makes Kenya a country where the centrality of human rights is fundamental, more than anything else. More than anything else. So, for this, we should not make apologies. We should not make apologies for standing for the Constitution, for standing with the law. And I agree, we must form coalitions. We must be in a broad-based government. But our people are in that government. When there are abductions, you must say, please, please, please. Just like the bishop was saying, the bishop was almost crying. Rama is crying. Kenya is crying. Kenya is crying. That we must stop abductions. We must stop extrajudicial killing so that we can build a truly democratic republic. The word republic has a meaning which we can talk about another day. So on my part, I want my conscience to be clear. I want my conscience to be clear that when there were abductions, at least in a public place, I said no to abductions. And I'm saying this because Rosalind, this December, not 3 years ago, not 4 years ago, this December, she was telling the Republic of Kenya, the Government Republic of Kenya, stop abductions, stop extrajudicial killing. And when she did that, they took away the money for the commission. Workers could not be paid, they could not carry out their work, and that is very normal in government. When there's too much sycophancy, people lose sight of the fundamentals. So ananaka anonge kamiprotera eme ankidi eme anyawawa. So having said all that, we appreciate when we work together with the national government. We appreciate. And there are things we are gaining when we work together with the national government. There are things they have done in Siaya. Next week, I have been informed the president may come in Siaya. We admire and appreciate the cooperation and collaboration between national government and county governments. But it cannot happen any other way, because that's what the Constitution says. If the national government does not work with the county governments, that will be a breach of the Constitution. So we must work together. Omio nyakoni, nyakoni, nyasembo republic ni, monyole rariedaka, monyole isiaka, machalo feto diambo, ma president malo society. Onyiso wan kar wan chuo kar wan na long lero. Come on.